Okay, so let me ask you this, because the reason I asked you all these questions around how you're feeling about this thing that came up is every time this big thing comes up, it's right before we up level. This is like when shit gets really kind of
Okay,
crazy
that's
because
good.
it's the last bit. Well, you've been, not you, the collective you. When I say you, I don't necessarily mean to single you out, but the collective you will fight so hard to keep something. And when it finally comes up and out, things kind of get a little bumpy, but then it clears. And then you're like, oh my gosh, and there's so much freedom on the other side, right? But when you're saying, oh, I feel so much better about it, I'm curious where we're at in the process because how I
Right.
normally would do this is I would say, okay, you need to do a check-in with your alignment work at each new level, right? So anytime my clients either A, get to their goal and set a new goal, or B, something big like earth-shattering comes up, we always do alignment to check in with what we're at because it helps me see, okay, is this still at play here or something else coming up, right? And so that's why I'm curious. And if you're like, it might be like something like that, or if we do the alignment work, it will come out what is the block to the next thing.
Okay.
So maybe start with just telling me where you're at with your business for this month and like, okay, where I want to be and how you're feeling about it. Cause that might be a really good place to start
Sure.
of like, you know,
Yeah.
and how it's going to shift. The intention here is for us to realize how it's going to shift when this belief is really gone.
Right.
And it might already be really gone. We'll find out.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. Right. Um, well, my sales are definitely down, which has sort of been consistent ever since the algorithm changed.
Okay.
So it's at first I thought it was like, what am I doing wrong? But now I see that this is probably just natural. This is what I'm hearing from other people, engagement and views. Put it this way, if the views are down, then obviously the sales will be down, right? So I'm just trying to, or not trying, I'm feeling better about just resting in, trusting the process, and trusting that it's going to pick up as the algorithm readjusts and pick up. Because this is my first time sort of going through that with sales being affected by a huge algorithm change.
Right.
And they say that it's normally going to ride it out and then it readjusts. So, but at first, yeah, I mean, at first I was like, it made me feel very stressed and I took it very personal.
Right. Yeah.
Now I'm training myself to be like, just keep going with what you know works. Just keep going with, and feel that confidence. So
Exactly. And again, like as we like tap in, like get rid of these beliefs, because the truth is that even an algorithm change is still a belief. Like, yes, in the 3D reality, it's
right,
true, but it's still a
right.
belief. And we can do our job to be like, it is working. And what might happen is you just get inspired action to do it a different way, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Well, I
you
love
we
that you
just
say that. I love
yeah,
that you say that because for the first time I said to myself, talking to myself, like what you've taught me is, well, even despite that, I can still be a magnet, right? So I want to embrace that. I want to
yeah.
embrace believing that. I mean, I don't feel like I'm exactly there, but that's where I'm trying to have that, just that faith and knowing that I can be a magnet. And despite the algorithm change, despite maybe views or engagement being lower, people can still want to buy just as much, right? Like
Right.
because they're just going to resonate with me and want what I'm
Exactly.
offering.
Yes,
Right.
exactly. And again, I'm always mindful because I don't ever want to set people up for failure by being like, oh, if you do this, it's going to change. It's like,
Yeah.
no, you do this and something will change. We don't know
Right.
what it is. It might be that, it might be that your ads take off, it might be that you get this another deal with a public, like there's just so many things that could happen. And
Right.
I made a note to add to my list of becoming magnetic so we can do a hypnosis protocol for that. Because I have an ongoing list of like things that I'm doing for you guys. Uh, okay. So let me make sure I'm understanding this. If you were like right now, if you were just fully magnetic and you didn't have the belief about the algorithm, what would be different in your business? Not with you, but in your business.
What do you mean exactly? Do you mean actions or do you just mean feelings? What do you mean?
Any of it, all of it. Because the truth
Oh,
is your actions will come from your feelings.
okay.
And
Well, I guess I'd
like,
have higher sales. I'd
yeah,
have
you would
higher
have higher
sales.
sales. Okay.
Yeah.
And it would feel easeful probably. And you
Yeah.
would have more space and time to have more joy. Cause I know that's something that you
Yes.
really like like to go back to. Okay. So
Yeah.
it would just be more cells. Okay. And that's like such an interesting point because a lot of times like people do this work and they're like, it's the algorithm, you know, and it could be like, I'm not trying to like gaslight anybody to say it's not,
Yeah.
but it's like cells and money can come in out of nowhere. Does it really matter where they
Right.
come from? Right. Our job is just to be in alignment and just action, 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 and not a lot of action, but just consistent action, I guess.
Yeah.
And then things work out. That's the way I like.
Right.
We do the alignment work, and the universe meets us there. That's kind of how I look at it. Okay, so if you were magnetic, okay, so like you're just like magnetic, people are finding you and paying you, and it's just easy,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Do you feel like you know what that feels like in your body to be magnetic? Do you feel like you felt it before? You're like,
Iffy.
yeah, iffy. Okay.
50-50.
Okay. Good to notice. Okay. I'm trying to think of like the way I want to navigate this because I think once we let go of this belief that it's an issue with the algorithm, it may be, but once we let go of the belief that it's not working, something else will open up. It's just how it is. Like, and so when you say out loud, right, like the algorithm change, it's not working, like say all the things in your head that come with that
Yeah.
belief that it's not working. So what are some of the things that go on in your head from that belief?
I definitely feel down. It's like a negative, yeah, it's not a nice feeling.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you close your eyes and you imagine that feeling and that sensation and that belief was a person or a thing, how close is it to you?
Um, yeah, it's out there. It's little person. Yeah.
Let that
Yeah.
little person hang out. Now I want you to like, okay, so that little person is the algorithm change, right? This belief that the algorithm is changing. Okay. So now I want you to imagine, like leave the little algorithm person there, like it's fine. But now I want you to imagine that there's this version that's really magnetic of you. Can you see her? Is she there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where is she at?
On this side, way bigger. Yeah.
Okay. So this is really interesting. Why do you think the thing that is obviously your belief is actually further away than the good thing, than the magnetic thing? That's a really interesting thing. So I'd like to know your take on that.
I don't know. First thing that comes to my mind is like the nagging doubt, the insecurity.
Yeah, but the magnetic version of you is closer than the limiting belief.
Right.
So actually, it should be the opposite. The
Mm-hmm.
things that are close to us are close because they're almost there.
Oh yeah, she's here. She's here. She's closer and bigger. Yeah.
Yeah. So why do you think the thing that's good is closer
Mm-hmm.
and bigger? That's a good thing.
Well,
But why
because
do
I'm
you think
getting
that
there.
is?
I hope it's
Yeah,
because I'm getting there. Yeah.
it is. But you know,
Yeah.
when you first came and you said, okay, this is my belief of what's going wrong in my business, but it's far away. So that tells me that it's not really like it's there, but it's not really a thing.
Right. Right.
Okay. So now we're going to pick up on a third one. This idea that if I set my boundaries,
Mm.
and or I don't know, you're gonna have to figure out which one it is for you, and or make a lot of money, I'm gonna be alone. Because this is the big thing that
Right.
we've been working on. And I
I
want to
know.
see which one of these is like the closest to you.
Right.
Because that's going to give
Okay.
us an indicator of what we should work on next.
Right. So say that again. One was about boundaries and then one.
Yeah, so the last time I think a lot of what we were talking about was like, well, if I was going to become the person, right, I would have better
Yes.
boundaries. I would have higher standards, so I had more capacity. But I have a
Yeah.
fear that I'll be alone. So is
Yeah.
the fear of being alone directly related to boundaries, or is it also like, well, if I make a lot of money, then I'll have to have more boundaries and I'll also be alone? Do you see the
Mm.
thread? Like, is it
Mm-hmm.
only the boundary part, or is it also tied in with money? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Initially, I feel like it's just that boundary part, the fear of lack of the connection. I don't think it's the money part, but
Well, ask yourself out loud,
yeah.
say, okay,
Okay.
if I make a lot of money, will I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I have to set more boundaries and have higher standards?
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, I'm hearing yes, but I have no idea why.
Sometimes we don't need to know why. Sometimes our
Yeah,
brain is like keeping it a
yeah,
secret, but from your
right.
body, are you sensing yes?
Yeah, but I just feel like it's not logical or think it's not logical.
Yeah, but the thing is, you know, I would say that majority of people would say, oh, going from $500 a month to five or $6,000 a month without really changing much, especially not as much as like
Yeah,
effort, is also not logical. The quantum
true.
leaps that my clients experience are not logical. That's why we work with the
Yeah.
body, because if we're only working logically, we put ourselves in a box for what's possible.
Yeah. I just had that woozy feeling again.
And you want to know why? It's because it's the same thing. And I want to
Yeah.
show you what's happening. I want to show you. You came and you said, I'm feeling so much better. It's on its way out. But really, there's some stickiness here. And that's okay. There's nothing
I know.
wrong with that, but that's why
Yeah.
we do that. Our brains are so sneaky. Our brains will be like, I dealt with that. I've even done that. I'll be like, to my person, I'll be like, I've dealt with that. That's not a thing anymore. And then there it
Yeah.
is. And I'm like, what? Because my brain is adorable and it doesn't want to be found out. So it keeps telling me that I've dealt with it. When
Hmm.
that's why people
Hmm.
work with somebody like me, because I can cut through that. I can be like, and the truth is that these big things like this, they take time,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because again, it's like a legitimate
Yeah.
fight for survival. Like if I'm
Yeah.
alone, that's not okay. Because we're as
Yeah.
humans, we're wired for connection. So there's a reason why solitary, what's the word? Solitary
Confinement.
confinement. There we go. I was going to say refinement. Confinement is torture.
Punishment. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people forget how important it is for us to have connection. If we think that having money or being successful will take that
Mm,
away from us, our brain will
right.
fight so hard to hold on to it.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay. If you close your eyes and you say, okay, where's that belief or that fear?
Hmm.
How close is
Hmm.
that to you?
I don't know. I feel so out of touch, to be honest.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
But I want to show you because this is
Hmm.
exactly what happened last time.
I I believe it.
And
Yeah.
only to show you
Yeah.
this is how you default. So when things are out of alignment or there's a fear, this is what happens. Your brain will get foggy. You won't be
Yeah.
able to concentrate, and you'll just get almost like an overwhelm, like a I don't even know
Right.
what to do with that. And that's
Right.
okay. That is a very human experience. But I just want to, I'm making this point because when you feel that way, you can be like, oh, there's a part of me that's really scared. There's a part of me that doesn't feel safe. Instead of being
Yeah.
like, why do I feel like this? It's like, oh, no, no, no. There's just a part of me that's trying to feel safe and heard and seen.
Right.
Okay. All right. So now, if you close your eyes again, where's the magnetic version of you now?
Yep. She's right here.
Is she the same place or is she closer or further? Or is it the same?
Um, the same, but I don't feel it the same now.
Yeah, you don't
I almost
experience it.
just because we, right? I feel like it's less believable.
Yes. And this is the reason I had you do that is to show you
Mhm.
that, to show, like,
Right.
again, that this reality creation of how much negative emotion and the thought
Hmm.
of like something's wrong or something bad can happen will literally, like, even though a
Hmm.
minute ago you're like, she's so close and I can believe it. And now you're like, I see it, but, and then if you don't
Yeah.
believe it's possible, that you take action from that place. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start
Right.
resolving this belief and these sensations and these thoughts and resolving them so then that version can come in and be closer. So another way that we could do this is through the alignment process, but since this is here, we'll just work it that way, right? Like I have process
Okay.
for everything, like how it's working, right?
Okay.
So okay, so have we done parts work together? I know I've done it in the membership, like where one part of you speaks to another part of you. So
Oh,
for
yeah.
example,
Yeah, we have.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so I don't know the best way to do this because there's a few days to do parts work, but because your brain is
Hmm.
really freaking out, we want to speak to that part of you that feels woozy and tired and just
Right.
like out of it
Right.
and say, hey, I hear you and I see you and I can tell that you don't feel safe. Like, what can I do? And see if we
Okay.
can get her to loosen because if just tapping right now would help,
Hmm.
but if it's too much, it might not work, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So see if you can just tap into that and see. And if you have trouble, let me know, because there's a few ways we could go about it. But the intention here is just for that part of you to feel really seen and heard and validated by this other part of you that's aware of these different parts, right? Like I see,
Okay.
I see the magnetic version, I see the scared version, you know, I
Sure.
see all the versions, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So
And
I'll talk
the
to her.
important thing too is to make sure, and if you want to mute yourself, you can, but also if she has something to say, to let her speak it out loud, to be
Okay.
witnessed. So if she has
Okay.
something to say, let her speak.
The woozy one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She just feels unsafe, and that's okay.
Oh, yeah. And basically I'm telling her that it is safe and it's okay, right?
Well,
Is that
it's
what I'm doing?
more, I think it's more about, hey, because what's the worst thing you can do to somebody that's like freaking out? Calm down. So it's hard to go in and say, oh,
Oh,
you're safe.
yeah.
It's, hey, I
Yeah.
hear you and I see you and I see that you
Got
don't
it.
feel like, what do you
Yes.
need? And let her tell you
Yes.
what she needs.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. It actually just makes me feel more woozy, like oh well, I guess it's just coming in touch with it, isn't it?
And if you feel too woozy, bilateral stimulation. So that's why it's in the nervous system toolkit, because this is
Right.
kind of like out of your window of tolerance, is what we would say, is where
Mhm.
you're so in it that it's too much. So what you can do is you can just do this to give yourself some energetic space to then be like,
Sure.
hey, are you okay? Like, what's going on? See if that helps,
Okay.
because it keeps you from associating in. And also moving your body. So like if she's feeling that way, I want you to move your body so your brain understands, oh, I'm not associated into those sensations. I'm here to help.
Okay.
So move your body doing this. See if you can get yourself to a place that's not, because you want to speak to her not from that disassociated place, right?
Okay. Okay.
Does that make sense? And if you have
Yeah.
trouble, let me know.
Okay. So I just said a lot of I hear you and I see you. And then the other part of me was like as if it's curled up in a ball, feeling stuck, but wants to come out.
And I want you to see the difference of what just happened. This is really pivotal. And this is very high level. This is what I teach my mentorship clients how to do this, right? Like your brain was freaking out and your body was associating into it that you couldn't even get space to be like, hey, what do you need? Right. So by doing this and shifting your body language, your brain was like, okay, I'm not associated in. I'm just talking to the version that feels that way. Do you see the difference in that?
Yeah.
And how she was able to communicate with you from that place. So this is why this is so powerful. Anytime you feel brain fog or overwhelmed or just like, you can do this and it'll give you space enough to be like, what's going on? Normally you could go straight into just tapping from there. But
Right.
I think because of this, she really feels scared. She needs to be heard. That's why doing
Mhm.
this first is going to help.
Right, right.
Okay. So
Yeah.
can you ask her, or did you ask her, like, what does she need to feel like she can come out, to feel safe to
I
come out?
didn't. Okay, I'll
Try
ask,
that. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, Farron, I can't get an answer, just the words, I'm so scared, I'm so scared, I'm so scared.
Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to move your body, like stretch, get up. You might want to actually get up and bounce a little bit,
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
energetically, like detach from how that's feeling. Yeah. Yeah. And you'll feel it. You'll kind of feel like, okay, I'm back in
Yeah.
like my body, right? But this is
Yeah.
such an important part because this version of you is a part of you. And on some
Right.
level, she is driving. Maybe
Yes.
she might not be in the driver's
Yes.
seat, but she's in the front seat probably, right? Like this is, and so when you're like, oh, like this is what I mean by when people come forward, like, I'm good, I've worked on it and fine. And then we do this work and it's like, oh shit, I'm totally not. And you're carrying that around with you. Like you can positive, like vibe yourself out of it, but the truth is she's still there.
Yeah. She's somewhere deep, deep, deep in there. Yeah.
And as soon as things start going, she'll get more activated because that gets closer to her fear. This is when people feel stuck. They're like, I can see the path forward. I know this is my path, but something's not working because you are so afraid. A part of you is so afraid of the other side of it working. Do you see that? Because she's only triggered by, because you told me your body said yes to, she is afraid of more money and more success because you're going to have to also set standards and have higher, like better boundaries and standards, right?
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
just want to show you what's happening.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I totally hear that.
Okay. So now what I want you to do is just say, ask and see it to you if your body's okay with it, because I want you to stay in your window of tolerance. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed with the emotion, but you're going to actually be her and you're going to speak to me and I'm going to coach her through it, because sometimes it's hard to have you do it if you're too associated in with it. But I only want you to do that if you can feel like you can be safe in that energy, and it's not going to like make you have a panic attack or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't think I'm near that. No.
Okay.
No. And even when I say woozy, I just mean this weird, mild, funny feeling, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
so you said you're going to talk. I'm going to.
So you're going to speak directly from that version of you that's like, I'm scared, I'm in a ball, I feel stuck, I don't know how to come out. I'm going to speak to you as her, and you're going to speak from her to me as first person, because this is going to help get her out, and it's also going to help us get the next steps that she needs to feel safe, so we can start releasing this. Okay. All right. So I hear that you feel scared. Are you scared?
Yes.
And that's okay. I'll get scared sometimes. It's totally okay to be scared. Full permission to just be. Are you afraid that if you are more successful, that something bad might happen?
Pretty much afraid that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that's okay too. So many of us deal with that, and just the magic here is not to be judgmental, to just be okay with those parts of ourselves that feel scared and sad and stuff. Is there something that I can help you with, or that Heather can help you with, or somebody can help you with to help you feel less scared? What do you need?
I don't know what that looks like. I just want to be normal.
That's okay too. Okay. So what do you think would feel nourishing? If anything could happen, even if it's just a hug, or even if it's just somebody to say, hey, I see that this is happening. Would that make you feel a little bit better? We just want you to feel a little more safe. You don't have to feel 100% safe today. We just want to start moving you in the right direction. Does that feel okay for you?
Yeah, I think just being surrounded with love and comfort.
Is there something that we can make sure that to get you that support? Like, is that something that we can, like, do you need to be talked to every day and to check in with this side of you, this version of you every day in the morning for a few minutes? Or what do you need to be surrounded by what, like this love and support? What does that look like? Do you know? And if you don't, that's okay too. We're just getting a
Yeah,
little
no,
bit.
that sounds good. I think there's a fear that it would go away.
What would go
That
away?
I think that love and support was taken away, and I'm scared it'll happen again.
Okay. When was it taken away?
When I was a baby, my mom was sick and I had to go live with my aunt. And I was sort of sent back and forth over just after a year. And I don't know which one made me feel that way, if it was from my mom or my aunt. But
So I'm so glad that we could have this conversation to hear how you're feeling, because that must be very, very scary to feel that way as such a young child and not understanding what's happening. It's okay that you feel this way. It's okay that you're here. So now I'm going to ask you, do you want to let go of this fear, or do you feel like you want to keep it because it's protected?
no, I do. I want to let it go. I It held me back even as a kid, and I knew there was something always holding me back from being myself and being free. I always knew.
The good news is that now we know. And so I just want to thank this part of you and you and all parts of you for coming forward to do this work and to have these conversations. And so from this place, it's a first of all, I want to say it's okay to feel scared that's going to be taken away again. It's how our brains are wired. Our brains are wired for safety. And if we think safety will be taken away because people will, like leave us or whatever the story is, that we're going to feel scared. And that's okay. But the truth is, the only thing that we can do to make you feel or to help you feel seen and heard and like that won't happen again is for Heather to be there for you, for a part of her. How can she show up for you and connect with you to make you feel like, okay, she sees me, she hears me, I'm not alone.
I think what you said, the daily thing of
Yeah,
just,
daily check-in. Yeah. And
yeah,
even just a few minutes, just to say, hey, I hear you, I see you, are you okay, is enough. But I want to show you something. This is really powerful right here. So a lot of times when people come to me, it's a fear of like other people abandoning us, but normally it's really because we've abandoned parts of ourselves,
mm,
right? This
mm,
this little young version of you that's so young and so innocent and just scared because she's so young and the people that are supposed to
mhm.
take care of her are, abandoning her. And I don't know if you resonate with that terminology. You can use what terminology works for you, but it's because we aren't paying attention to those parts of ourselves. The truth
Yeah,
is as we become more whole, meaning that we pay attention to all these parts of ourselves and they start to come back together instead of being fragmented, because these versions of us are fragmented, right? They're not even,
right,
sometimes we don't even know they exist. But as we start to connect with them and make them feel seen and heard and safe, then when people leave us, it doesn't feel as bad because we're okay.
right,
That is the ultimate power. The ultimate truth is that when I love myself, when I'm here for me, when I believe in me, nobody can take that away.
right.
Right. And so that's why this work is super important.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And this is something just to check in, but I can already tell you that it's probably not going to go away like that. It's going to be some time because this is a very old part of you and this is very deep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's okay. So now how's your body feeling? I want you to notice now how you're feeling.
Yeah, I feel a little lighter. I just feel emotional because
That's
it's
okay.
releasing, coming up.
Well, I'm just going to hold that space for you. You're allowed to just let that. If you wanted to turn off your camera or turn off your microphone, you can. But let that out. If it's coming up, let it out.
Yeah, maybe I'll turn off the camera for a few minutes and have a good cry.
Do it. Yeah, support. All the time. And for whoever's watching the replay, I am just gonna hold space for her to do this work with her and send her a lot of love while she's doing it.
Well, I remember crying much more like that when I was a kid or even a teenager, but I haven't felt those feelings in a long time.
There's gonna be more that comes because you can only go so far, like on a call like this, where I'm not, because I am coaching you, but if you were in a container with me and like it wasn't being recorded, it would be a little bit different.
I know.
But you can only process so deep so quickly when
Right.
something like this is so deep. I mean, it's just,
Right.
it's a lot, right?
Right.
But now I just want you to check in because I want to show
Mhm.
you something. I want to show you something.
Sure.
This idea that the algorithm changed. If you close your eyes, where is that now? It's belief that the algorithm changes, not working.
Yeah, it doesn't really, just kind of neutral. I don't know.
Yeah, and this is what our brains do. Our brains will lodge onto something to be like, well, this is the problem. And in the
Right.
3D reality, it might actually be a problem, but it's actually not
Sure.
your problem. It is a problem, but
Right.
it's not your problem. Because your brain's
Right.
like, oh, if we focus on the algorithm, then we don't have to focus on this stuff. So let's just
Yeah. Yeah.
leech onto that. Our brains are
Crazy.
sneaky. Our brains are
Crazy.
sneaky. Right? Like this is crazy. And so now if you close
So,
your eyes, oh,
yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so how do I release all this pain or hurt?
Yeah, so tapping and just connecting with her again, like I
Okay.
can do that for you in a session, but I understand that maybe you don't want to, pay for like a one-time session with me. I don't offer one-off sessions very often, but for people in my container, especially for you, because you've been in my world and you're so consistent with the work that I'm happy to offer that for you. Because I can rewire that in a session usually. So it's kind of like, okay, you can do that work on your own and it might take some time and that's okay too. Like it's okay that it's going to take time. Sometimes we
Okay.
need things to take time. But it's just showing up to these calls, doing this work, tapping and just connecting with her because really she's just asking you to be seen. Right.
Okay.
But like I can do
Sure.
a full on process with you where we go back to that
Yeah.
time when those neural networks were created, give her healing, rewire those neural networks so the sensations and the feelings and emotions are gone and they won't come back.
Okay.
Right. So that's how I would do it. But over time, you can do it the same way. It just takes longer when you're doing it on your own,
Sure. Sure.
which is normal, right? Does that
Okay.
answer your question?
Totally. Yeah.
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 And so I think bilateral stimulation, when you're feeling too much, like it's like I'm too overwhelmed, I don't know the next step, I know something's not right, and then being like, okay, what do I need right now? Does this version of me need some support? Do I need to touch base with her? And then even just like saying like, hey, how are you? You'll notice your body start to calm. And then from there, when you get calm, you can start tapping. But
Okay.
it's hard to start tapping when you're so like in it. That's why I had you like disassociate, meaning like get out,
Right.
move your body, and then come back. Because if I kept you in that state, you would have like circuited out. Your brain would have been like danger, danger, danger. So I had to get you out of that for your brain to be like, okay, this person knows what they're doing, fine, and like come and sit back down, right? So you can tap out of that sort of emotion, but it's difficult. So for me, when I tell people, hey, tap on something, it's usually from a place of like, this is big and it's a lot, but I don't feel overwhelmed by it. But if you feel overwhelmed by it, just start with this.
Okay.
Until you get some space of like, okay, it's here, it's big, but I'm not like in it. I'm almost like witnessing it from the outside.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Good. Yes. Sounds good.
So now the other thing I just want you to, because I want to show you what happens when we do this work, how it shifts everything else around, and how this will determine how you show up and how what happens in your life, right? So
Sure,
if you
sure.
close your eyes and you
Hmm.
now envision this magnetic version of you, where is she?
Yeah, she's closer for sure.
Like really think about that. Think about what we
Yeah,
just said.
yeah.
We're like, okay, what we thought was the problem
Hmm. Hmm.
is there. But I knew it wasn't really the problem because it was far away. That's why I was asking you. I was
Mm.
like, that doesn't make sense.
Right,
Why is she so far away? And
right.
you're like, I don't know. And then this version of you that's the magnetic, she was close. But then I
Hmm.
associated you into that and then back, and you were like, oh yeah, that she's there still, but she doesn't feel normal. It doesn't feel doable, right? And
Right.
then we worked what the real problem was, and now the problem
Hmm.
that you thought was not even in there because it wasn't actually ever a problem. And the thing that you want to become more magnetic is
Hmm.
closer. You see that?
Hmm.
Like that's pretty damn
Yeah,
close to magic.
yeah. I feel like also the words that go through my head are anything is possible
And what
when
do
I'm
I
picturing
tell
her.
you? What do I tell you? This is the
Yeah.
magic. This is where
Hmm.
magic happens. If you can learn how to harness that anything's possible energy and feel it more
Hmm.
than the algorithm's not working or whatever stories we have,
Hmm.
things will happen. And we have to be careful. I always tell people to use discernment because I'm really big on gaslighting. I don't like to lie to ourselves, but sometimes
Yeah.
we let it gaslight ourselves into being like, no, I choose to focus on it's working. Now,
Hmm.
here's the difference. Here's, I think, the difference in this and where gaslighting
Okay.
can get us into trouble from a positive
Sure.
perspective. I think the difference is when we can't make our bills and no money is coming in and we have no money to
Yes.
pay, and then you've got a mentor telling you, well, just like lie to yourself. I think that is very dangerous. But when
Right.
I
Right.
know your business, I know that you are, first of all, financially okay. But second of all, like you're not
Yeah.
going to like starve, you know? And second of all, I know that your business has the potential to do really well because it has. And so I
Yes.
know that I can lovingly invite you into that space from a
Right.
very, like I have a lot of discernment. I wouldn't give that advice to everybody. I wouldn't tell everybody to handle it this way. But for you, it's okay for you to basically be like, no, I'm deciding that this is what I'm focused on. And if I keep taking action from that belief, that it will happen. That's
Right.
very different from you being so dysregulated because you don't have money to pay your bills and then tapping in,
Yes.
I'm making $1 million. That's a very different thing. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
does all of this answer all your questions? Are you really clear about how to move forward and like what's actually causing the issue here? And like not that it's an issue, but like this feeling of like
Yeah.
something's not working and I don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so for sure. So I should probably check in with her every day just for a few minutes.
Yeah, just a few minutes. And like I just
Yeah.
whatever's easiest for you, where you have some space to be alone, because there might be a time where you get emotional, and that's okay. You would need to have space to cry if you need to, because you are the
Hmm.
3D physical human, so the emotion will be
Hmm.
processed through you. So just creating, just literally like I would say 5 minutes, but you probably don't even need that. Like that wasn't that
Mm.
long. The whole time that we did that was literally probably
I
2 minutes
know. Yeah, it was very quick.
because she just wants to be heard. Now, there might get to a point, so I would block off 5 minutes in case you need it, but you
Yeah. Yeah.
probably won't. But if there's a point where you're like, she has a lot to say or she's very emotional, then you can hold that space and you can cry and like let it out, right?
And then where does it go from there? Is it all about just letting her feel heard? Is that
Yep.
it?
So what happens is when she feels heard, she will integrate and she won't be like
Mm.
so what I saw is that she wasn't throwing a tantrum. She was stuck. And which was made so
Hmm.
much sense because you kind of feel a little bit stuck, like it's not working,
Hmm.
something's not working. But sometimes I'll have clients that like there's an issue on the outside reality and it's mirroring the fact that this version of them is like freaking out and like being angry or lashing out because she's not being heard. So like it's different versions, and that will all, and then that shows up in people's lives as things chaotic happening because we're not paying attention to
Hmm.
our internal stuff. But for you, it just sounds like she's just asking to be seen and heard. Now, as you keep progressing through this,
Hmm.
she will tell you what she needs. So either
Okay.
you'll feel her integrate with you, or she'll say, okay, now I'm feeling, because what sometimes happens is that they've been unheard for so long that they go through a phase of getting mad. They'll go like, Well,
Mhm.
I just feel angry. And I'm not saying that's going to happen with you, but I'm just saying sometimes they go in
Mhm.
phases. That's why this work is like long term, because these versions of us will
Mhm.
be like, okay, well, now I'm just angry because you haven't been listening to me for how many ever years, and who knows? Like,
Mhm.
she may just be like, oh, you're hearing me, and that's enough.
Right.
But it's just checking in with her, and you'll be like,
Mhm.
okay, she's integrated. Now there's another thing, or, oh, this is how this looks at this level. Like, the truth is that it's never all going to be gone. Like I said, every time I level up, I have things that show up from the past that I thought I've dealt with, and they're not exactly the same. They're just like a little bit the same, like
Mhm.
a thread. And I'm like, oh, I thought I already dealt with this. But because I'm at a new level, it shows up in a new way. But it might
Got
just be
it.
like a little tiny bit of that piece of, you
Mhm.
know, abandonment, or I feel lonely, or whatever. And it's like, damn, I already thought I dealt with this. But
Mhm.
it's just the human nature. And that's
Mhm.
okay. Like, but
Mhm.
but I would say these big ones, like, they'll always be there a little bit. Like,
Right,
I'm
right.
not gonna go and like cut it out of your brain, because you need, the truth is that everything that happens is that we need to, so hypnotists can actually, your brain is really crazy. So hypnotists, especially ones like me that are trained, like, of understanding how the brain works, is like, we could technically make people forget stuff. We can also plant
Wow.
false memories. And
Wow.
you have to be very mindful of that, because I try really hard not to do those things. And I would never erase people's memories, because the truth is you need to preserve the learning. There was still a learning there. And it might be, I'll
Yeah.
never let myself be treated that way again. My standards are going to be higher. I'm never going to allow to
Right.
outsource my power. Or so you don't do that to your own children, right? Like, and I'm not saying you would, but there's always a reason why we have to remember. We have to preserve the memory.
Mhm.
But the difference is that we flatten the emotion and the sensations attached to it, so it just feels neutral. It's like we're observing it, but we're not bothered by
Mhm.
it. That's how we know it's integrated.
Yeah. Makes
Does
sense.
that answer your question?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll tune in and then be
Yeah.
listening
Let me know if
what
you need
she.
anything. I'm happy to help you if
Yeah.
you need it.
Yeah.
But yeah, connect with her, see how she feels, see. But the big thing to watch for, I'm glad this came up today, is that when you're like, oh, everything's fine, I feel better.
I
But
know.
really, yeah, but really, and
I,
you'll see it. You'll see it as a
yeah.
reflection of how things are going,
Right.
you know?
Right.
I know it sounds very woo. It's like, well, if we just deal with our internal stuff, our external stuff will be fine. And people are like, oh, that's so esoteric. And it is, but I swear it works. I see
Well,
it over and
yeah.
over and over again, you know?
Yeah. And I wouldn't cry for nothing. That doesn't come from nothing. That's
No,
definitely exists there.
yeah,
Right. Like
it's
you
very
can't.
deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
no, you
obvious.
absolutely not. And I knew, and that's why I had you ask, because I knew
Mm-hmm.
that there was a string about money, or you wouldn't be having an issue with money right now. I knew they were
Mm-hmm.
connected. You didn't,
Mm-hmm.
because you're
Mm-hmm.
not trained in that. Like, why would you? But
Mm-hmm.
that's my job, is to watch your body. And I'm watching you when you talk, and I'm like, okay, there's something connected between these. Even though your brain would logically be like, that doesn't make sense. How are those things at all connected? But I'm
Yeah.
trained to know that. And I'm also very intuitive.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, there's a connection here. Okay, ask. And your
Yeah.
body was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. For sure. That's good.
I'm glad this was helpful for you. Keep working on it. You've got it. You'll be fine. Now that you know,
Yeah.
and you're a mom, so you're good at mothering. You'll be fine.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Definitely. Attachment was really important for me with my kids, and I was so lucky to stay home with them, so I was able to give them that safety.
Yeah. And that's what I mean by how to give safety.
Yeah.
And
Even that
so,
makes me want to cry just saying that.
well, a good thing to do. So you always want to connect with that part of you from what we call a resource state. So the resource state is this version of you that knows how to give safety. So when you sit down to connect with her, you're connecting from not from her directly, not from her,
No.
because you can't help her if you feel that. It's, I'm the
Yeah.
mom. I know how to give
Right.
safety. I'm here. What do you need? And because we've
Yes.
already
Yes.
made contact with her, she'll let you in easier this time, because we've already made contact. The first time you
Yeah.
were like struggling to get in with her, and I had
Yeah.
to help
Yeah.
because it was the first time.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. So being a mom works out really well, and you get to mother yourself. That's really what this is.
Exactly. Who
Mothering these parts
knew?
of ourselves that feel
It's
unsafe and
good.
unseen and unheard and scared, because we all
Yeah.
deal with it. We all do.
Yeah. No, that's good. I like that.
All right? Let me know how it goes. And if you need the new nervous system toolkit, let me know. It should say 2.0. If it says 1.0, let me know and I'll send you a new one.
Okay.
And in the next week, I have a call with my team on Friday, so I should know more about where we're going with the,
Okay.
the
Sounds
membership.
good.
I think I'm okay with just like the fact that there's only like 5 paying members of the membership or 6 right now, because I'm just like, I don't even know what platform I'm on, right? Because there's obviously
Yeah.
a part of me that's like, I don't know if I want this to be big because I don't even know what platform I'm on right now. And just being okay with it. Like I'm a human and I
Right.
get to have that experience and it won't be like
Yeah.
this forever. Like I know that when the time comes that I want people
Yeah.
in it, there will be people in it. I create my
Yes.
reality and there's not that many people in it because I didn't want there to be that many people at this time. And that's okay too, right? I go through it too. It's okay.
Yeah. No, I love that about you. I do.
Okay. Well, let me know if you need anything and I'll see
Okay.
you next week. Okay.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
You're so
Okay.
welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye.